guys, how's it going? Today we're going to do a quick edit here on a portrait image and show you how to get that light and airy look on a portrait image. Quickly though, go over the camera settings, what we shot this at. We shot this at ISO 200, 50mm lens at f2.5, 1/400th of a second. I was focusing on his eyes, so you can see that's the sharp part of the image. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and edit it to be very consistent with my style, what you can see on Facebook and Instagram. And let's go ahead and get started. So first thing, this image was shot a little bit cool, so I think what I would do is increase the warmth, and what I like to do is zoom in on the skin so you can start to see how the skin tones react to all your individual adjustments. So that looks pretty good. Let's zoom back out. Yep. Let's go ahead and increase the exposure. So increasing exposure already gives you that light and bright look. But what starts to happen is you do lose a little bit of detail. So one thing I'm going to do first is drop the highlights. And not only is that going to bring back detail in his skin, but it's also going to bring detail into the background, right? So here was before and here's after. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the contrast quite a bit. Because when you increase the exposure, we lost a lot of that pop. And I do still, even with my light and bright airy style, I do still like to have quite a bit of pop to my images. And then the next thing I'm going to do is bring down the blacks to even have the image pop even more, and bring up the shadows to bring back sort of that light look. And sometimes it helps to like go really high and then dial it back, right? Just to see which point you want to be at. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to look at his face again, and I feel like it's still kind of more on the magenta side, so I'm going to take the magenta and bring this down. Again, I might bring it down like really far and then come back to a point that I'm happy with. I think right there is looking good. Yeah, so what's tricky with skin tones is there's so many different like underlying tones that make up your skin color. So you really just want to try and fine tune your white balance to really work on that. I think I actually feel like that's right where I want to be, but I want to warm his skin up even a little bit more. I think that's looking good. Yeah, I like how that looks. So the other thing I want to do is I actually want to work on this tone curve here. And there's a quick little like adjustment that you can do where I'm going to do a medium contrast curve to give it even further pop. But because that darkened the image in my mind a little bit more than I want to, I'm going to bring up the shadows again. And I'm actually going to bring down the vibrance of the image because sometimes adding a lot of contrast gives almost too much color or pop to the colors in your images. So I'm going to bring down the vibrance just so again you can bring it full down just to see where you're at, and just a tad, maybe like right there. I'm -6 on the vibrance. Let's see, and then I feel like his skin is still, I mean it is the winter, he's pretty pale. I might actually drop the exposure a little bit because I feel like his skin was still a little bit blown out. But by doing that, I still, like, I have a lot of black points in the images now. So I'm going to bring up my blacks back up, and I'm going to bring the shadows back up. There we go. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. And then one thing I like to do is if you scroll all the way down to profile here, enable profile corrections. That is to eliminate any sort of distortion that your lens may have on the image. So some people like it, some people don't. I usually I usually enable, and then remove chromatic aberration. That is usually happens with lenses when there's a high contrast values and you get this fringing that's happening, but I'm not seeing too much of that here in this image, which is good. Yeah, I don't see that. All right, and then the last thing I would do is I want to fix the horizon line here. So it's a little crooked, and the way I know that is look at the fence, and I'm going to align the vertical with the verticals of the fence. That's going to give me a good idea on where the horizon line actually is and straighten out this image. And that's it. So that's looking really good. I think that's really close to what my style is. I do edit, like I said, in high volume. I do edit with a lot of presets, and which I can show you guys in another tutorial. But for this particular tutorial, I wanted to show you how you can get a light and bright look with editing without presets. So let's take a look at what that before and after looks like. It looks really great. One thing I do also want to mention is this was taken yesterday around 3:30, 4 o'clock, where the sun was really low. So if you've been in my Facebook group and if you've heard me talk or if you've attended one of my workshops, one of the things you want to do is make sure you're shooting at the right time of day to get the light and bright look. Having really hard shadows is not going to work in your benefit if you're trying to achieve this look. So shooting when the sun is lower in the sky, that means early morning or late afternoon around sunset, what we call the golden hour, is going to give you this type of look. Also when it's sunny, right? So you're going to have that warmth, that nice tones to work with. Sometimes when it's cloudy, it's actually great for photographers because clouds act as like a natural diffuser, but sometimes it's hard to get that pop back. So sometimes cloudy days can be a little bit tough. So, and then the other thing is the way I'm shooting, guys. So I'm shooting with my 50mm lens at 2.5. So I have that nice blurry background. So when people think of like a light and airy look, airy is like, you know, that blurred background, that bokeh that's, you know, gives it nice contrast between the subject and the background, that distinction. So what we like to say is shoot for light and airy. So you want to get it right in the camera with these types of settings before you even get into editing. Okay, so hopefully that will help you in your journey for editing. Happy to answer any other questions. You can see some of the presets that I do use here on the left-hand side. Again, I will be talking about those at some other time, but not today. We did all of this by hand and it looks great. And so I will, I'll talk to you guys a little later. All right, bye.